Good morning. So, welcome to all of you. Today, we are going to discuss a new topic, and that is the deep sea environment. If we just look at the area, the deep sea environment, they covered about 70% of the Earth's surface. But if we just look at the total volume covered into the deep sea environment in terms of sediments, then the contribution of deep sea environment is very minimal. Because most of the sediments which are generated into the continental part, and continental part are the only areas of sediment generation, say they are deposited in the continental part by various processes. And if the rivers, they are transporting the sediments from the continental part to the ocean, all those rivers which are draining into the ocean, they deposit their sediments in the channel of the river in the form of point bar deposits or bread bar deposits or channel bar deposits. The leftover sediments, they are deposited into the delta. Further leftover sediments, they are deposited into the shallow sea. It means all the sediments which are generated by various processes, either they are deposited into the different continental environment, or they are deposited into different transitional environment or marginal marine environment, or they are deposited into the shallow marine environment. So the deep sea environment is generally starved of sediments. But the flora of the deep sea environment is generally basaltic. It means basalt, they cover the maximum area on the surface of the earth, because the 70% of the earth's surface is oceanic, and of oceanic about 65% is deep sea, and all the deep sea, they are covered with basalt. So what is the source of sediment into the deep sea? The source of sediments are, number one, bypassed material which were not deposited into the continent or in transitional environment or into the shallow sea, so the bypassed material. And obviously their contribution is almost negligible. Then second, the reworked sediments of the shallow marine environment. Then third is the dead parts of the fauna and flora, so the ocean fauna and flora. Then the volcanic dust and the aeolian dust. So this is the source of sediment into the deep sea. If we just look at the process, that what are the process into the deep sea, generally the mass flow deposits, that is the debris flow and the turbidity current deposits, they are the important process into the deep sea environment. Because I have already described that in every sedimentary environment we have to discuss that what is the source of sediment, what is the process which are responsible for the transportation and deposition of sediment, and what is the accommodation space. So what is the accommodation space into the deep sea environment, or what is the morphology of the deep sea environment? So we all know that this is the continental shelf, then the continental slope, then the continental rise, and then the deep sea plain. So the continental shelf part, continental slope part, slope has this slope, and then the continental rise part, and then this is the deep sea plain. So the continental slope, continental rise, and deep sea plain, they comes under the deep sea environment. Then the deep sea canyon is also very important geomorphic feature of the deep sea environment, and these canyons are nothing but they are the submarine rivers. They are very incised, and they are the submarine rivers, the deep sea canyons. Generally the canyons, they are present into the continental slope part. Then the sea mounts, they are also very important geomorphic feature of the deep sea mounts, and generally they are volcanic in nature, and all those submarine mountains which are volcanic in nature, and if their top is flat, they are known as guyors. they are known as gayards. So what are gayards? They are nothing but they are the flat top submarine volcanoes. So the deep sea environment, as far as area is concerned, they cover very large area, but as far as the sedimentation is concerned, they are generally starved of sediment. The supply of sediment is very, very low into the deep sea. So the deep sea in the continental slope deposit, the continental slope, the debris flow, they form the megabeds. The debris flow deposits tens of meter thick and which are tens of kilometer, extend for tens of kilometer, they are referred as megabeds. Generally the deposition of sand which slides along the slope, they form the megabeds. So megabeds, they are very important into the continental slope and they are formed by debris flow deposits. Then what happens into the continental slope? That all the sediment, if this is the continental shelf part, if this is the continental shelf, now this is continental slope. So all the sediments which were deposited into the continental shelf, they slide like this into the continental slope region. So the movement of the sand from the continental shelf region to the continental slope region in the form of a sheet is known as sand spillover deposits. These are sand spillover deposits. Then again what happens, that this continental slope region is again characterized by the slide and the slump of the exotic blocks. And the slide of the exotic blocks into the continental slope region, that is known as olistoliths. The exotic blocks which slide into the continental slope region. And if they slide means they are moving from this place to this place like this. And if they are slumping, means they are slumping from this place to this place. The slump of the exotic blocks, generally they are brachiated in nature, that is known as olistostorms. So in the continental slope region, there are megabeds. Again, there is sand spillover deposits. Then there is olistoliths, and then olistostorms. That is the slide and slump of the exotic blocks. So the sand spillover deposits, the slump and the slide, that is the olistostorm and the olistoliths, they are collectively known as apron deposits. They are known as apron deposit into the continental slope region. And these beds are very, very important into the continental slope region. The next important deposits into the continental slope is known as contourites. What are contourites? Contourites are the deposits which are formed by the contour currents, which are geostrophic as well as which are formed by the thermohaline. So geostrophic means all those currents which are moving parallel to the pressure line. they are known as geostrophic current. So the deposits which are formed by the contour currents, geostrophic currents, and the thermohaline currents, they are known as contourites. And the contourites are characterized by the cross-bedded silt and sand interbedded with mud and forms the imbricate lenses, and that is known as the contourites. Then after this contourites of the continental slope region, there are deposits into the continental rise. The continental rise is deeper than the continental slope, but the slope gradient of continental rise is very, very gentle. And the most important deposits which are formed into the continental rise are the turbidites. Turbidites are the deposits which are formed by turbidity current. Turbidity current is one of the gravity-driven current, and the turbidity currents, they are also known as density currents. The density currents are the turbidity currents. They were first time described by Cunin. Cunin was the first one who described the turbidity currents. They are the high density currents, and all those currents which are formed by the liquefied mass of suspended sediments, they are known as turbidity currents. They may be formed by the earthquake action also. So the turbidity currents which were first time described by Cunin, they form the turbidites. And the complete sequence of turbidites, their phases were first time completely described and analyzed by Bauma. So the turbidites, complete sequence of turbidites deposits are known as Bauma sequence, because they were first time analyzed by the Bauma, the name of the scientist who analyzed the turbidite deposits. And according to the Bauma, the turbidite deposits are formed by turbidity currents, and they are characterized by 5 distinct phases. The first phase at the base is the graded bedding. So this is the first phase which is at the base. After this graded bedding, there is parallel lamination, lower parallel lamination. So this is lower parallel lamination. After that, ripple lamination. Third is ripple lamination. Lamination means any bed which is less than 1 centimeter in thickness. After that, again upper plane bed. So this is upper parallel lamination or upper plane bed. Then after that, the top is paletic. This is paletic interval. So this is the complete sequence of Bauma turbidite deposits. The lower sequence is the graded bedding, lower parallel lamination, ripple lamination, upper parallel lamination, and the paletic interval. We are getting mud at the top. All the complete sequences of the Bauma, they may or may not be present into the turbidite deposits. So this is the complete sequence of turbidite deposits as proposed by Bauma, that is also known as Bauma sequence. Then the turbidity currents as well as the debris flow deposits, means mass flow or gravity movement, they may form the submarine fans. The submarine fans, they are very, very important deposits into the deep sea, and all the submarine fans, they are generally the largest geomorphic feature on the surface of the earth. And as they are similar to the alluvial fan as formed by a river. As the deep sea canyon, they transport the sediment from the continental, because they extend back to the continental shelf part. So they transport the sediments and water from the continental shelf part to the deep sea plain. And they form a fan-like deposits like this. They are known as submarine fan. And all these submarine fans, they are very, very important mass flow deposits. Means the debris flow as well as the turbidity currents. They are the largest feature on the surface of the earth, and they can be divided into three. The number one is proximal part, then the middle part, and the third is distal part. The proximal part is similar to the river, means that is the and the natural debris deposits. Then into the middle part, the lobes they extend like this. Again, they like this. Means the evasion of the channel is taking place. Once this is the channel, this channel is forming deposits like this. Then this channel evolves. A next channel will be activated. This will form deposit like this. Then this channel will be evolved. Next channel will be activated. And the activation and deactivation of the multiple channels and the formation of the lobe into the middle part is a continuous process. And the distal part, that is the lowermost part of the submarine fan, that is characterized as very fine grained deposits. So these submarine fans are largest feature on the surface of the earth, which is characterized by three parts: the middle part, the proximal part, and the distal part. And the largest fan on the surface of the earth is the Bengal fan, which is around 3000 kilometers. So this is a big area, and that's why I have already spoken that the submarine fans are the largest feature on the surface of the earth. As we can see that the Bengal fan, which is 3000 kilometers long, is the largest geomorph feature on the surface of the earth. Then further, some sediments are deposited into the submarine fan, and these sediments which are deposited into the deep sea, they are known as hemipelagic and the pelagic sediments. Hemipelagic sediments means the continental sediments, and they are deposited into the deep sea. Whereas the chemogenic sediments, they are also deposited into the deep sea, but they precipitate into the deep sea, such as zeolites or the sulfates. They are the chemogenic sediments. Then the pelagic sediments, generally the pelagic sediments means they are organic rich sediments. The content of organism is very, very high into the pelagic sediment. So the hemipelagic sediments, they may be blue mud, red mud, green mud, and the black mud. Blue mud, it is because of the presence of the iron sulfides. Red mud, it is because of the presence of iron oxide. Green mud, it is because of the presence of glauconite. Black mud, it is because of the presence of clay and the shale. So this is the hemipelagic sediments. Then the chemogenic sediments I have already described. Then the last is the pelagic sediments. And in the case of pelagic sediments, the organic sediments, they may be of two types. They may be calcareous or they may be siliceous. They are known as the organic sediments which are of clay size, they are known as oozes. So it may be of two types, the siliceous oozes and the calcareous oozes. Generally, they consist of fragments of the dead parts of the sea organism. The siliceous oozes is again classified into two. That is the radiolarian and the diatoms, and the calcareous oozes is also classified into two: Globigerina and pteropod. These are the name of the fossils. So the Globigerina oozes, pteropod oozes, they comes under the calcareous oozes, and the radiolarian oozes and the diatoms oozes, they comes under the siliceous oozes. Generally, the radiolarian oozes and diatom oozes and the Globigerina oozes and the pteropod oozes, they dissolve at certain depths. And if the radiolarian oozes and the diatom oozes, if the siliceous matter they dissolve, they form the chert into the deep sea environment. So cherts are also formed into the deep sea environment. Then at a certain depth, the carbonate and the silica, they are dissolved. So there are two terms. One is CCD and one is SCD. Carbonate compensation depth or calcite compensation depth, this is known as SCD, silica compensation depth, or OCD, opal compensation depth. So the carbonate that starts dissolving at a depth of around 4 km and that completely dissolves at a depth of around 5 km into the ocean. So the depth of 4 to 5 km where the carbonates are completely dissolved, calcite is completely dissolved, that is known as carbonate compensation depth or calcite compensation depth. And the depth where the dissolution of the calcite or carbonate is maximum, that depth is known as lysocline. The depth where the dissolution of the calcite or carbonate is maximum, generally that is at a depth of around 4 km. Then what is silica compensated depth or opal compensation depth? Silica starts dissolving at a depth of about 6 km and that completely dissolves at a depth of around 6 to 7 km. So this depth of 6 km is known as SCD, silica compensation depth or opal compensation depth. So this is all about the deep sea environment, which is very extensive as far as area is concerned, but is minimum as far as rate of sedimentation is very low into the deep sea, and they are the least understood part of the all sedimentary environment. So keep on revising all the sedimentary environments. If there is any query or any question, you are most welcome. On next turn, we will discuss the transitional marine environment. Thank you and good luck to all of you for utilizing this lockdown period very successfully. Thank you.